Wow, for today's guest, we are thrilled to have a dynamic and accomplished leader with us. Everybody, please join me in welcoming Alex Lim.
Thank you. Welcome to Power Monday, where your Mondays will never be blue again.
With the person you are today, I'm sure you had your battles with failures.
Yes, definitely.
Right? So let's start with, why do you believe making mistakes is an essential part of the journey to success?
I think everyone is always looking for the success story, which is also important.
Yeah.
But I think mistakes, it's what we really learn along the way. And, as many mistakes as we make, and then after which we will get over it, right? So that's where the learning point is. So the more mistakes you make, the more mistakes you can avoid in future. Yeah.
Wow.
So I actually learned all this in sports, right? There's always a win and a loss. So it's
sports?
Yeah, sports, like example, during my primary, secondary school days, I'm in basketball.
Wow.
So it's always there's always a win and a lose. But the whole ultimate, outcome, it's what do you do after you lose, right? Winning is, when you win, it's easy, you just cheer and celebrate. But what happens when you lose, right? So that's where I think if we can bounce back, and that's why I learned that there's always a next round, right? There's always a next round.
Yes, that's always. So these 5 failures that for success, was it something that you created throughout your life, or was it something that you noted down or you reflect on? How did this come about?
I think it's what I reflected on along the years of real estate. Definitely there will be some major mistakes I felt that I actually personally went through. So I can share what are the mistakes with my agents, my team. Hopefully they can avoid or to fast track these mistakes. Yeah.
Okay, then let's proceed. So what is from the 5? What is the first one?
I think one of the first mistakes is that for agents especially, when they come into this industry, I feel that, they did not see this as a business. I think this is one major, mistake that I always look at. They think that it's something that when you join and then, there is a framework given to you, so actually it's a self-employed, right? So you look at it as a business, right? You have to be very disciplined.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to wake up because no one's gonna wake you up every single day, right? So except your phone and your alarm clock. Right? So you have to put in that kind of discipline to look at it as your own business. So once you look at it as a job, right? Someone's gonna give you some work to do. Then I think the expectations will be a very critical mistake, when you come into this industry.
So you're just looking at what you do on a daily basis in a different perspective.
Yes, because I think in the job we have a calendar, a schedule to follow, right? There will be a manager to every day they will come to you and bug you for work and job to be done. But I think in our industry it's slightly different, right? So you can't have a manager to call you every single morning or afternoon, right? So there's going to be a different kind of a job scope. So setting the right expectation to join this industry, can actually help them, understand this business better and grow faster as well with the right expectation.
I see. And I think this also applies in terms of personal journey, because let's say we put job aside and then every day we wake up and then we're like, very fun to.
Yeah. So the good thing about our industry, our business, is that, I always share my agents that, we join because we want the freedom of time, right? So that's the benefit. But on the flip side, it is also the cons, right? There's also pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
So the pros is that we have the freedom of time, and the cons is actually we also have the freedom of time, right?
Oh.
Right. So that's the reason, right? So we have to really, spend the time wisely, and I think discipline is important.
Discipline.
Yeah, self-discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, discipline I think shapes your how you pick up from a failure as well.
So all these years, sometimes when I see agents fall out, actually it's just a matter of giving themselves roles, right? So as I believe as parents, sometimes you give your kids a timetable, right? So sometimes I always joke with my agents, do you have your own timetable, right? So we can actually schedule for children. And what about adults? When you're really in business, we should have a schedule as well. Yeah.
Wow, but isn't it? Some would say having a schedule, it's tedious or it's so very hard to keep track.
Yes.
But that is also, I guess, one of the minor failures.
Yes.
Keeping track of
keeping track of your schedule. It's really important. Yeah, because I came from a single parent family. I don't have any siblings, so I just felt that maybe I don't know. Maybe I came from a place that I'm privileged to not have such support. Then I have to fend for myself, right? So I have no one to rely on, and I think maybe that forms a little bit of discipline and drive. Then I always share these stories to hopefully inspire our agents to my agents to really, be focused on what they're doing.
Wow. So single parent and no siblings. Oh, same. I also only
Wow,
child.
really? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was always left at home alone. So
Same.
when home alone, you got nothing to do.
Yeah.
You got to find something to do.
Yeah, and I also actually like writing down stuff, planning.
Yes,
but then I
yes,
actually,
yes.
as in when I was young, I don't actually follow through lah. It's just, it's just the first.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's good to
wow,
hear.
it's relatable. Okay, then moving on to the second.
Yeah, I think one of the next mistakes that agents do is that I feel that they don't have proper money management. Because money, I think this topic is not taught in schools.
Yeah.
I don't think it's taught anywhere because it's quite a sensitive topic, right? When we talk about money. But actually, what I'm trying to say is that money has to be managed. Yeah. So as young, we only have like one bank account, right? We come in, we come out, right? So actually, as agents, we need to manage our money well because in business there is an income, right? There's an expense, and we don't have any CPF. Right? We don't have CPF. So we need to put aside some money, into somewhere that you cannot get your hands on.
Oh,
No cards, no checkbooks, Maybe you have to queue up at the bank. That kind of discipline. So money management being a discipline in your money as well.
okay.
Then you can sustain the work.
Okay, but I believe that, I mean, I also do that. I have like a site where I don't try not to touch, but then there's some
Yep. You try not to touch, right?
instances where I feel like I deserve it, that I should take
of
out
course,
from
of course.
something.
There will be these instances. But imagine if it's your CPF,
Yeah.
right? You can't touch, right? So that's one of the reasons, if we want to do well in business, we should have at least 3 bank accounts. There's
Wow.
income, expense, and your 4 savings that you don't touch.
Income and I should start applying that.
Yeah, because then you will feel healthier, that you have already planned out something the next 1 to 3 months, right? So you don't overblow your budget. And yet you are very confident in the next 2 to 3 months, there's some cash flow for you to work on your business because you have to reinvest back in your business. Yeah.
But I think also how you think about it is important because
Yes.
sometimes if you have these savings and of that, I have a safe
Yes,
thing, so I
yes.
can just do whatever
Yes,
I want, and
yes.
then that becomes
So initially what I do is I open a bank account that I don't even know which bank is it. You know,
Yeah.
that time when I was like 20 over years old, I opened a small bank and then I don't have any cards to it. So that's why I just put my money there. Yeah, so that one would be for like example, a fixed savings, maybe I want to buy a bigger investment or a bigger dream. So that would be my like CPF.
that every time you want to have the
I
urge
won't
to
I
take.
won't touch it. It's
You
going to
won't
be
lah.
the big goal, right? It's
But also, I
maybe
think for someone like,
property.
leceh, I need to go to the bank, I need to queue.
Yes,
then
you got to
they-
inconvenience
then they-
yourself,
yeah,
right?
inconvenience yourself. Yeah.
So that's why money, I think, has to be managed, especially when sometimes in real estate, when your income comes in, a certain percentage has to be set aside for the next round. Right? It has to be set aside for savings. And of course, you have to set aside for your own expense or your makan every day. You have to set aside. Yeah, so really, this kind of discipline, it won't be taught in school. So the mistake agents make is that sometimes we do have good days, right? So when you have good days, sometimes agents are overblown their budget. They didn't plan well. Then they go back to square one again.
Correct.
So that's the problem I see. And then that keeps their a business cycle ups and downs. Right? So that's where they feel a burnout after a while. So that's one of the things that if you want to be in the game, right, it's a marathon.
It is.
You have to there will always be good days,
Yeah.
but sometimes there'll be bad days, right? So that's the reason why I always share my agents that whatever monies that come in, you got to provision, especially on good days.
But I also like to point out, even if you have bad days, but you still cannot have the mindset, okay, I wait until I get maybe $1 million, then I start savings. Cannot, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yes.
So it's even though I feel like you don't have to keep a benchmark. Like as soon as you start in the industry, you have some earnings, you start making
Yes, you
it
got to
a
start right
habit.
from the first paycheck, right?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
becomes a habit.
Correct. Then it becomes natural. It becomes
So sometimes I do also joke with my agents. My agents say, hey Alex, I don't have much money yet. So you asked me to open 3 bank accounts, right? I have no money to put in, right? So that's the excuse and reasons that I get. So on the flip side, and I share with them that's the reason why you can't keep up. Right? That's the reason why, you are here today because end of the day, because you didn't manage money well, That's why sometimes it always goes back to the cycle.
Yeah.
So we really need to.
It doesn't become routine and then you
Yes.
forgot about it. It becomes
Correct.
and it's always procrastinating. Next time lah.
Yes, correct. Because you see, even in any companies outside, there's always an accounts department.
Yeah.
Right. So the bosses can't just touch the accounts department. So this has to be, so you are your own boss, your own HR, your own accounts, everything is inside. So it's not easy, but that is one of the mistakes that I see.
Yeah, I mean, because if you don't manage your life, then who will, right?
Yes,
so you have
yes,
to take
yes.
the extra. You have to take the extra effort to like
Yes, extra.
be self-aware of what you want to be, and then you just manage accordingly.
Yes, and all this comes through learning, right? We don't get this just overnight, right? So it comes through learning, peers, support, mentorship. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Number 3.
Yes, number 3. Okay, I think number 3 is that one of the mistakes I felt that agents make when they step into this industry is that they don't plan big. Right? Of course, I know it's not easy, but when they step in, we're always taught, to always take a step at a time, right? One step at a time, small steps, which is correct. But I think sometimes in business, we got to take some bigger steps.
So is that same as saying taking risks?
A bit of risk,
Okay.
setting a little bit of a higher goal. Okay, and I think that can stretch you to think back what you should do on day one. For example, when I joined the industry, many years ago, my target every month was to make $3,000. That's
Every
life, right?
month.
So every month, because the average pay was only that time to me as a poly grad, it was only like 1,000, 7,000, 8. So that was my target, 3,000, which is that's where I came from, right? So I think with that, then you only work towards that $3,000. Right. So, but afterwards, after a short while, you start to see, things differently, right? You start to look at your peers, you look at what the market is. Then you start to set higher benchmark, like maybe 10,000.
Yeah.
Then you work backwards. That's where you can do your day-to-day activity differently. Yeah. So setting a higher benchmark doesn't really mean taking a bigger risk, but it does stretch you to think differently. Right? So if we start off thinking, okay, maybe I want to make 20 grand, which is very high, very high. But with that, if you look back, how many deals should you have? How many hours should you meet your customers? How many customers do you want to meet? If you break that down, it's more possible, to actually achieve the results. So I think setting a higher goal, a higher benchmark, can actually help the agent achieve faster in their career.
But they also have to follow through.
Yes.
They cannot
yes.
set a huge goal and then never mind. They will come later. They won't reach.
Yeah. So this is something that I also train my agents, right? So they say, okay, so I'll say, okay, how much do you want to make a month? So they always set goals. For example, they say, okay, I want to make 20 grand, for example, which is a lot, right? So average income, I think it's probably only $5,000 to $10,000, per household. So 20 is a lot, right? So from there, I will always ask them, okay, why do you want to make this money? What's the reason? Okay, so sometimes they say, hey, I should. So I say sometimes you just have to tweak, our psychology a little bit.
Correct.
That it's not a should, it's a must, right? That drives them to create results.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's my point of view that, they can set actually a higher barrier for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember first episode, reasons or results.
Reasons or results, yes. The in-betweens are, not so critical. It's reasons or results.
Reasons or results.
Yeah.
The rest doesn't matter.
You will always be right. Reasons or results, you're always right. Right.
Yeah.
So let's choose the results.
Yeah. Okay. Next, number 4.
Yeah, I think number 4, I think it's important to embrace new technology. Yeah. So I think embracing technology, it's important for today's workplace.
Yeah.
Right. So things are moving so fast, and it always evolves.
Correct.
It always evolves.
Correct.
So I think what I do see is that some agents, especially the experienced agents, because of all these years of work, they have been getting results in a certain way, right? But along the way, things have micro shifts in society, in culture, in technology. So sometimes it's good to keep up with it. Yeah, keep up with it. Yeah.
But
So
we also have experienced agents, I don't want to use the other word, that are not as tech savvy.
Yes.
And they keep coming back.
yes.
And a lot of them also tell me that they can't remember or it's hard
Yes.
to keep track. So
Yes.
they keep coming. But that's another means to improve lah.
Yes.
You know?
So I think we want to leave no one behind. There's
Correct.
always, I feel there's different generations, right? The different generations. Some they already born with it, so it's easier for them to catch up. I think probably I'm in the middle, right? I don't grow up with it, but again we shifted. But there's also a group that have no idea what is this all about. And I think for this group, it's really important for the manager to coach them.
Correct.
Not just attending trainings. It's really got to sit down with them, how to apply. And sometimes a little bit more effort can help the agent improve. Right? But again, on the agent side, they have to be open to it.
Yes.
That if they don't even download the app, there's nothing we can do. They got to maybe try, figure out, and they have to reach out if they don't know. I do have agents in the 70s. Okay, they also are a little bit slower to adapt, but at the end of the day, they are able to adapt.
Correct.
It's just whether are you willing to let technology into your life and into your course of work. So if you allow it to happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
also
will
don't
happen.
be discouraged. Like if you feel like, why I cannot get it so fast? Why do I have to keep seeing my... Because I have
Yes.
one agent who came, then she was like, Taufik, you keep seeing my face. And I'm like, it's okay. It also... It's good for you. What benefits you will benefit you.
Yes.
Right? And if you keep trying, then eventually you will get it there.
Yeah.
So I think this leads to, before we get to the last point, this also leads to don't compare too much with other people, like other people's progress and your progress.
Yes.
Totally different because you guys are living in different circumstances, your situations are different, your level of understanding is different, and a lot of factors that comes to it.
Yes.
So I think my main point is just don't be discouraged if you feel like we're a bit lacking behind. There's always room to catch up.
So I feel that it's all about the willingness to accept technology. Yeah,
Correct.
if-
Open-mindedness. Yeah.
If you are open to it, there's always a lot of things that can happen when you will embrace technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doors will always be open if you are willing to
Yes.
be there. Okay, so moving on to your last and final point.
Yes, my last and final point is actually one of the mistakes I see is that agents are not planning to scale their business.
Okay.
Scaling means doing one thing. Today in the age of technology,
Yeah.
while we're sitting here talking, right, behind the scenes, the work still can be done.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, I think social media is one of the ways that we are scaling our business.
Correct.
Yeah, you can actually create different ads at different times, okay, and also on different platforms all at once. Yeah, so that's I think, very powerful way to market yourself. So to scale your business, you have to up your branding.
But that's also a wide,
Yes, it's going to be a
it's a
wide topic.
huge
Yeah.
umbrella. And again, some people, they don't know how
Yeah.
to do branding and stuff. But I think there are resources out there.
Yes.
Again, it just boils down to whether you want to.
Yes. So I think for branding, what's important is that I think ultimately, why are we focusing on branding is because branding can last longer, in over time of, over a good time frame, and it attracts business, right? So branding is actually very important. Yeah, word of mouth, right? Word of mouth. We heard all this before, word of mouth. So branding is also word of mouth, but probably more of a electronical word of mouth, and there's also a real physical word of mouth. But the word of mouth, it's what we call branding. Yeah, so you got to really position yourself, to be attractive so that people actually inquire. So if agents are always in their shell, for example, they always say that, hey, I'm not outspoken, I'm not dynamic, I work very hard, but who knows that you're working hard, right? Unless you go and brand yourself, on these platforms, and then maybe the customers would, hey, I appreciate someone that works like this, in this manner, of this style. I like this agent in this characteristic. So every agent have their own market.
Correct.
Yeah, regardless of age. Branding has to be authentic.
It has to be authentic. It has to be who you are. And a lot of people will actually relate to you because there are other people who are like you.
Yes, there will always be lovers and there will always be people that don't resonate.
Yeah. Not everyone can be this celebrity.
Yeah, but if you be yourself, you can last longer because it's yourself, right? You don't have to work towards someone's framework. You can always be natural. Yeah, I think that's a good way for branding.
Maybe their doors is not open yet.
Yep.
So any advice for them, any words of encouragement maybe?
I think how I encourage myself, it's I mustn't be afraid of failure because everybody will go through failure.
Yeah.
So the way to win is the one that is willing to take on more failures. In every sport, it's the same. You only see the shots that were scored. right? But the millions of shots behind, you won't be able to see. So not many people can go through that. So that's the secret I tell myself, that 90% of people won't go through the hardship. And if I were to go through the hardship, I may come out a little bit better. So I think don't be afraid of failures. Don't be afraid of hardship. It's part of the process. Carry on, Of course, you can shorten the cut by speaking to people with more experience. I think that can shortcut a little bit. But again, we have to embrace all failures.
Right. So remember that each mistake that you guys make adds on to your life lessons and then ultimately nurture you to become a better version of yourself every day. Okay, so Alex, thank you so much for being in the studio today. And thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in today's episode. We hope you found Alex's insights as interesting as I did. It's been Alex and Taufik. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Power Monday, where your Mondays will never be blue again.